Our first guest is going to be Kryss Clover. Hi, how are you?
Hello. Hi, everybody. How are you? Thank you so much for having me up here, too. I really appreciate what you're doing for everyone.
Thank you for agreeing and thank you for being my guinea pig. This is my first one.
Yeah,
So
I'm excited.
you've been so patient and so good with me, so thank you for that. Okay, I'm
Oh, thank you.
right into the questions.
Okay, no problem.
So I want to start with you telling us how you got started writing. Not necessarily professionally, but just writing, period.
Okay, so I always loved to read since about sixth grade. This is funny, but I started actually writing when B2K was hot. Remember B2K?
Yes.
So on MSN.com, they used to have a fan fiction group. So what people would do is they create their own stories, fan fiction
Yeah.
stories. So I started reading a couple of them, and I was already reading books. I ain't had no business reading anyway. So when I so when I started reading these stories that fans are writing, making up, using, J Boog or Morion and all of this,
Yeah.
I'm like, I could do this. This is dope. So every day I was obsessed. Every day I would hop on MSN.com, B2K fan fiction. Now read stories. So then I started writing my own. So that's how I got started.
That is so funny that you mentioned that. I was never,
Yeah.
my cousin actually
Yeah.
loved with B2K, and
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure if it's the same one or if there's multiple,
Mm-hmm.
but she used to go read fan fiction on some website. So I wonder if it's the same one, but she used to always tell me about it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was MSN.com. MSN.com was the spot for B2K fan fiction. It was the hot place for B2K fan fiction. So them stories used to be real juicy.
Tell me about some of them. So yeah, I completely know what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yep.
When did you were reading those stories and you were thinking, I can do this. So when did you
Yeah.
actually decide I'm going to do this? Like I'm going to become a published author?
Well, as far as a published author, actually just decided this about last year. So, writing has always been a passion of mine, and I would write short stories, and I would just let people that I was close to read them. So one of my closest friends was like, "You should start posting this, you should do a group. They have Facebook groups. You should do a group." So I said, "Okay, I'm gonna do that." So I created my own group on Facebook, called Shea Butter Stories, and I was kind of losing, I wasn't writing as much.
Right.
So I challenged myself and I said, this is what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna write short stories. I'm gonna write a part a day.
Right.
So I'm not even going to figure out the beginning and the ending or none of that. Just to kind of challenge myself to continue writing.
Right.
Every day I'm gonna have to, off the top of my head, figure out what's gonna be the next part. So my first story I wrote on the group was Two-Headed Monster. And yeah, so a lot of the readers, they were responding like, "Oh, when the next part coming?" So I started, it started motivating me, and then it started pressuring me too to write. You gotta have this done.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when my friend, she would call me on the phone like, "These are really good. Make sure don't nobody steal them, girl.
Right.
You need to publish. You need to publish. You can't just be putting all your work on here." So she was kind of like the motivator for that. She motivated me to start the group, and then she motivated me to publish. So that's when I taught myself. I didn't know the first thing about it, and I said, now I got to learn how to publish my work.
So you self-taught yourself, like everything that you need to do to self-publish.
Yes.
That's good.
Yes.
That's good because a lot of people want to self-publish, but then they always would ask somebody. I'm the same way. I kind of researched it and learned it for myself so that it's
Yeah.
kind of easier that way because you know the information for yourself and you kind of remember it more than if you just ask the question and then, it can kind of
Right.
forget about it.
Right. Because sometimes people don't, like for me, I'm a detail-oriented person. So when somebody tell me something, I listen and I'll be like, I don't know what the hell. I still, I'm just like, I still don't know
Like,
what to do.
like what part are you skipping? How did you get this done? Like,
Yeah.
I want to know every little piece. I want to know how, why, when, everything. So I can
Yep.
understand you on that. Okay, so I heard you say that your group was called A Shea Butter Story.
Shea Butter Stories on Facebook.
And is that now your publishing company's name? Because I saw that on the titles.
Yes.
Too.
Yes.
And how did you
that
with that name?
Well, I thought of it because you know, I'm a Black author, and I wanted, you know, the majority of my characters, all of my main characters are Black characters. So I wanted like a name to where, you know, Black women specifically could relate to. So that's where Shea Butter came from. And I said, you know what, Shea Butter Stories. And I'm gonna just rock with that and see.
I like that.
So that's
that. And it's something that most of us use daily. Like I have my Shea on my counter right now. So yeah, it's definitely something that resonates with people. What about your pen name? How did you come up with your pen name?
The crazy thing. So I was on a dating site, right? And I never use my real names on a dating site. So my first name is Crystal. That's my real name, Crystal. And you know, Chrissy, that's my nickname, and it's spelled Kryssy. So on the dating site, I just use Kryss and I put C. No, I actually put Clover. Actually just made up a name.
Okay.
And I ended up meeting, you know, a guy off the dating site. And when we started like talking, he realized that wasn't my real name. I told him my real name, but he was like, "That's not your real name." He's like, "Yo, that name is really catchy." I was like, "You think so?" He was like, "Yeah, Kryss Clover. Like, it just got a little ring to it. I like it." So when I started publishing, I started learning more about pen names and, you know, having a LLC, using a separate entity to publish. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna use that as a pen name. I'm gonna just go with Kryss Clover. So that's where that's where it came from.
Okay, and it's very catchy. So
thank you.
What inspires you to write? Like when I'm reading your books, there's like a darkness to them, but it's like action oriented, but it's like you like a darkness. So what movies do you watch? What books do you read?
Girl, I'm crazy. I'm a Virgo.
Okay.
No, but my favorite movie genre is thrillers.
Okay.
So I love thriller and I love horror. I love everything else. Like film is like, I always tell people I'm bilingual. I speak movie quote. Like, so I love movies, but my go-to genre is thrillers and horror. So, you know, when a lot of people who love urban fiction, African-American books, well, I like urban fiction, but the biggest theme is like romance. So I love me some romance, but you know, my mind always goes to like dark or thriller. So I'm like, you know what? Like when I write, I don't want to just write one thing. I don't want it to just be a romance. So I want to write something that's going to have people like, oh, you know, some twists and turns that I like to watch in film. So, and I'm like, and I wanted to go a little dark too. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do that. It's going to get a little dark. So
in your bio, I did see where you said that you like to kind of cross, like you said, thrillers, but also with films. Have you ever thought about writing scripts? Have you ever wrote a script? Is that something you're interested in?
I am interested in. It's a little bit different. I actually did I collaborated with a film writer, and I did about 3 short films. We put them on YouTube. But they, you know, they weren't anything as far as like what I write. They weren't dark or anything like that. But I do want to get into film. It's just very different writing. It's very technical.
Yes.
So for me, I think with that, I'd have to like really collaborate or just really learn script writing. I really just love the detail or just the details of narrative writing. And you know, writing novels. So I definitely want to get into film though.
Yeah.
Film, series. I think that's like the next step for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love novels. So.
I can see your books being turned into films, thrillers,
movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
What would you say has been your biggest obstacle as far as the writing industry is concerned?
I think the biggest obstacle is getting readers. And just marketing, you know, my novel, just getting it to people. I think that's the biggest obstacle, just because, you know, the publishing market is very saturated, especially on Amazon. You know, it's not like before. A lot of people are writing now because, you know, they figured out how to do it. It's a little bit easier now. You know, you could pay somebody to write a book for you,
right.
just like that. So I think, like, you know, getting readers, and then too, not a lot of people want to read you when you're a new author. You know, it's kind of like, and it's not to say like you're not good, but it's kind of like with everything else. Like, nobody wants to be the first to try out something. Right. So I think that's my biggest obstacle.
And how, if you have not overcame it yet, what do you plan to do to overcome that?
I think for me, because I've just started, you know, it's not something that happens overnight.
Right.
But and one of the things too that I'm working on is to make sure I have different variations of my book. You know, my books are currently just ebooks right now. But you know, I'm working right now to get them in all forms. That's Audible, that's print versions, you know, as well as just joining communities. Like, I think this is awesome, you know, that you started this community here on Facebook. Another author that I kind of networked with, and she's sold hundreds and thousands of books. I think I networked with her on Clubhouse. I think she's even part of this group too. She even suggested that as a reader, especially if you're writing African-American fiction, urban fiction, to join Facebook groups. And just, you know, learn about marketing. So those are the things that I'm currently, you know, educate myself on.
Because I think that is a big obstacle for a lot of authors, especially self-published authors, trying to get your audience, trying to tap in with your tribe and things like that. It is very difficult to do.
Right.
So who would you say is your favorite author, and what have you learned from them? Or it can be writer in general. Who is your favorite, and what have you learned from them?
Hey, I'm in between two. I really love Zane, and I really love Eric Jerome Dickey. God rest his soul. And I think the reason why I like both of them is because Eric Jerome Dickey, he was like, I feel like Zane is more, I'm not gonna say modernized, but they both had different styles. Like, when you read classic literature, like Eric Jerome Dickey, he writes a lot of his writing is very detail oriented, like extremely detail oriented, and it kind of has a feel of like classic Black writers, where it's real literature in there. Zane, I'm not saying she's not, you know, she doesn't write as detail oriented as him, but you know the difference between like a Toni Morrison and a Zane. Like, Zane to me is kind of like more of a modern writer. So I think that I've taken both from each. I also like the fact that Zane, she gets a little dark. Can get a little dark with her erotica. You know, she's erotica, so she kind of adds that sexy darkness in there. Eric Jerome Dickey, he's more of like a romance. He does have some action in there, but a lot of his books are like romance orientated. So I think I like both of them for what they bring to the table.
Do you have a favorite book?
Yeah, my favorite book is actually by Zane. It's called Nervous.
I love Nervous too. What about
you? Love Nervous?
What about that? What makes it your favorite book? What is it? What's about that book?
It was the first book that I've ever read that incorporated like a psychological spin on it. And I remember when I used to read it, I thought it was so dope for it to be erotica too. I thought it was just so dope how it was done. And she was very creative. She was very creative with her erotica, because each story was different, and it was an actual storyline. It wasn't.
I was going to add that. Yes.
Yeah. It wasn't just filled with sex. It was an actual storyline, and that one blew me away. So I really love Nervous. I've read Nervous about over 5 times.
Yeah, but that Zane, she makes sure it's like she's telling you a story, and it just happens to have sex in it, and they just, you know, it's not just filled with just sex. It's like these characters really have a real life. They're real characters. They're real people. They're developed really good. So yeah, I agree with you on that. When you are reading your writing, or when you are writing, what areas, you know how if you're on a corporate job, they'll say you have room for growth here. So when you are reading your own writing, what area do you feel like I could grow more here? I could do better here?
I think what I need to work on is learning how to write. I write, I write in first person. That's when the author, I do a lot of telling the story from multiple character perspectives.
Right.
And people, when they see that, they think it's so hard, right? But it's writing the other way. When you're writing in third person, that's a little bit hard for me to do. So with the prequel that I'm working on, you know, I'm trying to do that more, you know, write in third person, just be able to switch it up. Because it's like telling a story from just what is it, omnipresent, like an omnipresent
right
perspective is a little bit difficult for me. So I would say that I could work on that. I also, a lot of the times, I feel like my vocabulary could be repetitive. Maybe that's just me. I think that, you know.
It's probably because you're reading it so much that you're.
Yeah.
I've said this, but it didn't. I read your books. It didn't come off as repetitive to me.
Oh, it didn't.
No.
You see that? We are biggest critics. We are biggest critics, but you know, a lot of the time when I'm reading other people's writing, and I can always appreciate another good writer. You know, I'm learning from other writers. Right. Just people in the group. Everybody's like posting books. I'm downloading these books and I'm actually reading them.
Right.
So some people have like really, really great wordplay, and with me, I like to get straight to the point with my words. I'm not always that good with metaphors and this and that. I use straight to the point words. But when I see people who are like really, really good with wordplay, and I'm like, oh, let me highlight this. What does this mean? You know, and I'll like see a phrase and I'm like, okay, let me save that. Put my little own spin on it, and you know, maybe try to use it. So I think those are the areas I think I can get better with.
Right, now I want you to gas yourself. What is something that you feel like I'm the best at this? This is what I'm writing. This is what I do well.
I think my thing is suspense, twists, and the action that I like to incorporate in the writing and kind of bringing a story to life. I think bringing a story to life. I also would say my flow is really, really like, it keeps you turning the page. A lot of the times, one of the things that I notice in myself as a reader, I don't like stories that have a flow where I get bored.
Right.
Because it's so detail oriented and it's good. The story can be good, but it's just like, okay, I'm tired of reading now. I'm gonna get back to it tomorrow. But with me, I believe in having a flow where the reader doesn't want to put the book down. So
let's talk really quickly about Two-Headed Monster. Because when you said that about, I like to get to the point, I like that I thought about that book because there were so many twists and turns.
Yeah.
At the time, I thought I had it figured. I'm like, okay, this is what's going on. This is the character. This is doing this. This is who doing that. And then I'm like, nope, that's not. I had it wrong.
Yeah.
So I think that you are really good at the twists and turns, really good at the suspense. What gave you the idea to write that book? And then what was your process like with writing that book?
I'm gonna be honest. My readers wrote that book.
Oh, I remember you said that you was putting in the challenge.
Yeah. This is Two-Headed Monsters was the first. It was the first story part that I wrote in the group. So I put part 1 up, right? This was just a writing exercise for myself to stay motivated. So when I put part 1 up, the readers that I had, and I'd say I had about 10 loyal people that will always comment, that would always read, and them commenting and reading will bring more people in. So they would always try to guess what was going to happen next, right? So I always wanted to outdo what they thought was going to happen.
Right.
Because I didn't want the story to be predictable.
Right.
So they were like, oh, I bet you such and such gonna do this. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm gonna switch it up on them and I'm gonna do this.
Okay.
So each part was a challenge in doing that. So every time people ask me like, well, how did you come up with? I'll be like, my readers wrote that book. My readers wrote that story.
I think it was very good for you to start a readers group even before you had your first book published. Because like with me, I started it after I had published books. But I think starting it when you know, okay, I like to write, I want to start a book, you know, that's a very smart idea to go ahead and you're already branding, you already have your people, you know, who are going to support your books in this one place. So kudos for that. That was very smart to do.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I want to talk really quickly about Sidesweepers. How did you get the idea for that?
It's crazy because when I first started writing it, I didn't even think I was gonna write it like that. I this guy I was dating for a while. He's a filmmaker. So one of his films, and I had always wanted to do, I don't know if I put it on the back of the book. Always wanted to do like a Black woman assassin story.
Mm-hmm.
And, I had already wrote that part. I already wrote that part one on the group. I didn't know where I was going to take the story.
Right.
So then he showed me one of his films that had like a Black woman assassin. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was so dope. And the same night, I ended up watching, I can't think of the movie, but Ashton Kutcher starred in it. And he was an assassin. And his girlfriend's father was an assassin too. And I remember I can't think of the movie. When I find it, I'll send it to you. Yeah. But just seeing both of those films, I automatically just got the idea. And one of the things, like when I write, I see it in my head like a movie. Mm-hmm. So I'll look up and I'll have like my notebook and my pen, and I'll just look up and I'll just picture everything like a movie, and my pen will just move. Yeah. So that's when I got the idea to create an assassin story.
I didn't
inspired
synopsis first. I just dove straight in. So when it got to the point where I realized, oh, this is what she does, I was like, I like it.
Yeah. Oh, you like it? Oh, good.
And I like, is her name pronounced Zanae?
Zanae, yeah.
I like Zanae. If you do a part 2, just remember I like Zanae.
Everybody likes Zanae. I'm gonna do a part 2. Right now, I'm working on a prequel.
Yeah.
The prequel is gonna be focused on her father's story.
Yeah.
Obviously because he was the one at the end. Yes, The Professional. That's one of my favorite movies. That's my movie. But it's gonna be focused on her father. But everybody loves Zanae, so I'm gonna have to do a sequel. Because that's one of the things about me too. I listen to my readers, and what they want something, I'm gonna have to give it to them. Yeah. So
well, I love that about you then.
Okay, I got you, girl.
Okay, so where do you see yourself in a year? I'm gonna ask you in a year and also in 5 years. Where do you see yourself?
Okay, as a writer?
Yes.
So in 5 years, I would like to I would like to be a best-selling author in a year, at least. In 5 years, I want to be doing film in some way, shape, or form. So I want to be doing, some type of, it be a TV series or film. I want to, be incorporated in those things, because it's, two of my main focuses. Okay. But yeah.
Do you think that it's important? Do you have a mentor, somebody that you can go to and get guidance from? And do you have one? And do you think it's important to have one?
I don't currently have one, and I think it's very important to have a mentor, because as a creative, we're very like emotional people. We go through things, we feel things a little bit more than other people may, because we're sensitive. So sometimes, you can be hard on yourself. Right. You cannot feel motivated. You may not hold yourself accountable to get certain things done. And when you have that mentor, when you kind of have that accountability partner, it makes crushing goals a little bit more easier. You're motivated, you're inspired because you have somebody there. So I'm definitely looking for a mentor, most definitely. So I do think it's necessary in whatever you're doing.
Okay, so last question. What at the end of your career, you've done everything that you wanted to do in your career. Where will you be able to say that writing a book has taken you? Where will you be able to say that because I wrote this book, now I'm here?
Repeat the question.
At the end of your career, once in a year you've hit bestseller, and in 5 years you're starting to do film. But at the end of your career, what do you want to say? Because I wrote that book, I was able to accomplish what? And it could be those two things. But is anything else that at the very end of your career, you want to be able to say, because I wrote that book, I was able to do these things?
I like to I like to help people, and that's what I do in my 9 to 5. So you know, I would want my writing to help someone in any type of way, be it inspired them,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when they felt like they couldn't do something. You know, when you look at, before you even start publishing, you never really think that you can write a book, you know. I want somebody to be like, she did that, I can do that. I want to be able to show people how to publish books. You know, I want to publish books for other people, for other writers. I just want to pave the way for people that's trying to do the same thing, that may not have the confidence or the motivation or even the resources. Right. So that's my thing, you know, just helping people in any way that I could, who kind of have similar goals or whatever. That's what I do as a person.
Yeah, I like that. That's really good. So I want to just remind the audience, she has 2 books, Two-Headed Monster and Sidesweepers. I have read both. They are both really good. They're you on your toes. You're gonna think you have it figured out, especially in Two-Headed Monster, and you're not going to. But they are really good books. Please support. I'm going to drop the links as well. Please support. Please download the books. Please buy the book. Read, review, tell your friends. But I want you to tell everybody where they can connect with you, your Facebook, Instagram, things like that.
Yeah, so you guys, you can connect with me at Instagram. Is Shea Butter Shea_Butter_stories. At the end it's a Z instead of an S. So I'm on Instagram. You can also connect with me on my website, www.sheabutterstories.com. It's all spelled how it's supposed to. And from there, you can hit me up with an email. You can chat with me on there. You can be directed to my Instagram from there. And you can, if anybody's in the group just want to send me a message here, you can message me through Facebook.